Greetings, fellow Europans, Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of a new series playing Barotrauma. If you would like to skip the game's overview or the setup of the series, please use YouTube chapters, and before we watch, a warning. In this series, I had the most ridiculous run of terrible luck, but this is not a true depiction of what the first player campaign will be like on normal difficulty. Enjoy! Barotrauma is a 2D survival horror game submarine simulator, inspired by games like Faster Than Light, Rimworld, Dwarf Fortress, and Space Station 13. It's a sci-fi game that combines ragdoll physics and alien sea monsters with exploration and existential fear. This stream will serve as a tutorial let's play for the game, and a little bit more about the series. So, I'll be playing a normal difficulty campaign using only the starting Barsuk submarine with no mods, so vanilla. The improvements that we make to the submarine, like upgrades or crew, will be left up to you live viewers via polling. I do ask for please no backseating or spoilers of any sort. And I've never played this multiplayer, nor have I built submarines from scratch with the submarine editor, so I can't answer questions about that. So let's get going. Right at the start here, I am going to be doing only the basic training tutorial, as that will introduce you to some of the core game mechanics, but I'm going to skip the roles tutorial and instead just tell you about the roles, as that will be a way quicker way to get through them. Ah, I see you're standing. I'd like to keep this brief, since you're the 6th person I've had to guide today, and frankly, I'm getting tired of it. Where am I? Who am I? You're in an automated rehabilitation chamber. You've suffered a traumatic experience and were in a perpetual state of screaming and defecating your boiler suit. Dr. Happy has seen fit to treat you. I don't remember anything. That's great news, and significantly reduces the chance of intense nightmares and flashbacks too. It's an intended but slightly inconvenient side effect of your medication. We have to reteach you all the basics, like using your arms and legs, and you're good to go and make some money and pay your medical bills. Medical bills? Anyway, let's get you going. Try to move those arms and legs, will you? The door will open once you press the button. It's slightly out of reach though. So, you'll see the ragdoll physics walking around. You can even collapse on the ground, holding space. And it's possible to injure yourself by, like, shutting doors on your own face and things like that. But use the cursor to control the direction your character is facing, which is important because, as you can see, you do not sprint backwards. So, if you face the direction of the cursor, you'll move a lot faster, which is very important when you're trying to repair a sinking submarine. So make sure the cursor is in the right direction, and press E to close this instruction, left mouse to interact buttons. There we go. To pick up an item, point at it with the cursor and use left mouse. So it wants me to pick up an ID card, and these ID cards are important. Having an ID card on you in your ID card slot over here will allow you to open doors that you have access to. This is a lot more relevant in multiplayer when the captain and security crew have access to the secure lockers with weapons, so on and so forth. But for single player, ID cards only really matter when you're exploring other submarines, not your own, as your own people will have access to basically everything on your own submarine. So, unlock the locked door. Without the ID card, if I drop it, as you can see, the door says unauthorized access, but if I pick up the ID card, whether it's in my inventory or in my ID card slot, it will allow me to open up the door. So there's multiple levels here. So if I don't hold S, I'll walk on the upper platform, but if I hold S while approaching the stairs, I'll walk down it. If I hold S approaching the stairs, I'll walk beyond it. Most submarines do not have staircases. The Barsuk doesn't, the one I'll be using. So this is really only relevant controls for the stations. This is a bit like Terraria, I suppose. Alright, Devices sometimes break down. They can be repaired with the correct repair tool. So, open up the medium steel cabinet and grab the screwdriver, and then hit 1 to put the screwdriver in your hand, and walk up to the broken junction box. And as you can see, left mouse will interact with it, but you can also rewire it and repair it. So, holding E is a rewiring of it, and also a repair of it. And then the way this works is we just wait to click when it's into the color bar. If you don't, you'll get shocked. So I wanted to demonstrate the shock. There is also a minimum required skill, and when you don't meet the minimum required skill, sometimes it will let you do it anyway, sometimes it will shock you and burn you. There is clothing that will make you shock or burn resistant, but there we go. Junction box is repaired, and the junction box is wired to this pump. As you can see, this red wire goes all the way to the pump. So the pump pumps out all the water, and we move on. Welding tools are vital for sealing leaks. Obtain a welding tool. And obtain welding fuel. Equip the welding tool, as you can see. And then it wants me to fix the leaky wall. So aim and fix the damaged wall. Whoops. Wear a diving suit. So the game takes place under the ice in the oceans of Europa, a moon of Jupiter, and it's very high pressure out. So diving suits are suggested. So let's wear one. And then we need to drag an oxygen tank into the diving suit, or our oxygen goes down and we suffocate. And then obtain a wrench and repair the pump. So the character gets ragdolled as part of the game mechanics. When you're frantically blitzing around your submarine, trying to repair things, a huge part of getting around is like dealing with the ragdoll physics. So it's entirely intended. I'm not sure why they built it that way, but they did. So now I need to flood the room in order to gain access to the ladder, because the ladder's out of reach. So I click on here and I can say pumping speed in instead of out. Out would be drain, in would be flood. And this is a very useful mechanic when you're dealing with ballasts. So when you want to raise or lower the elevation of your submarine, you'll have to flood the ballasts or pump the ballasts in order to go up and down. And there we go. We can leave. And now, kind of like Project Zomboid, they're like, alright, you did it. Well, I'm not going to cuss, but we didn't think you got this far so soon. The sector is unfortunately still quite unfinished, as you can see. There used to be a mud raptor nest here, and we're 90% sure they're all gone. What's a mud raptor? Hold on a second. I see some additional movement on camera. Uh-oh. What's that noise? So this is a mud raptor. And in close quarters, they will absolutely rip you apart very, very quickly. So that was the basic tutorial. And I am not going to do the roles tutorial because they'll take a while, but I'm going to summarize them very, very quickly. Basically, your captain is your helmsman. They control the ship, and they have... a lot of their skills are mostly based upon buffing their own crew and keeping the ship going. Your engineers are the ones that work your reactors and repair your electricals. Your mechanics are the ones that fix your machines, pumps, and other broken devices, and also fix the plumbing and the like. And engineers and mechanics usually have a bit of cross-training, so an engineer will have pretty decent mechanic skills, and a mechanic will have pretty decent engineer skills, but their talents that you unlock are specific to their class. Then you have a medical doctor. Medical doctor is actually quite important in this game. as you get hurt from playing, the skill of the medical doctor that treats you determines how effective the treatment is and whether or not you have negative consequences of that treatment. So, for instance, if you have sustain a lot of internal injuries and they treat you with fentanyl or morphine, you don't want to have an addiction to fentanyl or morphine, or you're going to be like vomiting and ill or whatever. So capable medical doctors is important in that way. And then security officer. Security officer is the one responsible. They're really good at defending your ship if it gets breached by enemies, and also using the guns on the ship. So those are the roles. There's other roles as well, like assistant, which is kind of like a swabby or a newbie. But those are the basic ones. So let's start a new campaign. Here is the starter to submarines, and I'm going to be using the Barsuk, which is an attack-style submarine, rather than the Dugong, which is a scout. There are some things that the Barsuk doesn't have that the Dugong does. So, for instance, the Dugong has an ability to electrify its hull to repel enemies that are like on its hull trying to breach, whereas the Barsuk doesn't. But the Barsuk has more turrets and better turret coverage as a result. We'll call this save Twitch. And then, as far as settings go, I'm going to be playing on the normal preset. And I'm going to enable the tutorial. There is Jovian Radiation, which, if you've ever played Faster Than Light, where you know, like, the wave comes up behind you where they're trying to capture you, Jovian Radiation plays somewhat similarly, where it forces you into more difficult regions of the map, sort of quick, but not quickly, gradually. But then, you know, you have starting supply, starting balance, difficulty, and then max missions per round. Okay, so let's go back in there and go, instead of custom, normal. And Barsuk. And here is our 3 starters. Now, these have already been raffled off to my patrons, so let's get them. We're going to have Fish Pickles. And then we'll have Cool Mike. Ooh, wow. And JD, who's sporting shades. Very nice. So we start off with a captain, an engineer, and a mechanic. And speaking of which, Cool Mike, thank you for the bits. In the early 21st century, it was discovered that under the icy, irradiated surface of Jupiter's moon Europa lies a vast sea sustaining microbial life. Following the discovery, it didn't take long for the first manned space flight to arrive on Europa and verify the sea did not only host microbial life, but complex, hostile, subaquatic fauna. Sometimes the wildlife, the researchers faced grueling difficulties posed by the dangerous radiation emitted from Jupiter and the intense cold and tremendous pressure of the European Ocean. Despite all their hardships, Earthborn colonists were able to construct a handful of habitable outposts where a new way of life developed over many decades. A new system of governance was formed by a coalition of the largest, most influential cities on the moon. Over the years, European society became more and more dissociated from Earth. 50 years ago, contact was lost entirely, and no more supply ships have arrived since. Subaquatic travel and vehicles are a key role in this new society. Scouting for new inhabitable locations, protecting citizens from creature attacks, and establishing supply lines between stations as humanity ventures ever deeper to evade the lethal radiation from Jupiter above. The life of a crew member aboard one of these submarines is a lucrative one, albeit dangerous and often short. You've decided to rise to the challenge and establish a crew of your own. Now, with your newly bought Barsuk docked at Balagtan, the waters of Europa open up before you. Explore, help expand the colonies, and make of this place what you will. Cool Mike says, finally, a chance to get off this station. Can you believe there's so few people willing to crew a submarine? They just sponsored us one fresh from the shipyard. I feel like there must be some catch. None as far as I can see. Supply and demand in action. They need able-bodied sailors to keep European society running, and the original crew of this submarine drank themselves to death before their maiden voyage. It's ours, all right. If you say so. Still seems fishy, but it sure beats sitting around here. What do we still have to do before we go? We'll need some supplies for our first voyage. Fuel rods are a must. So fuel rods is what powers up your nuclear reactor. Without them, you're very much dead in the water. Without them, I cannot keep our submarine powered. We should make sure we have some spare. Welding fuel too, as without it, we have no way to patch hull damage. Of course, let's try to avoid hull damage, but just in case. I'll transfer my last savings to the shared bank account to contribute. All right, I'll get the supplies. Great. Maybe while you're up there, you can check if anyone has some paid work for us. There's not much point drifting around without a purpose, and keeping a submarine running is expensive. Sure, on it. So the priorities are on the top right. Find a way to make money, get supplies for the submarine, which is fuel rods and welding fuel, and leave the station. So this is our ship, and I'm going to give you a little tour before we go. This is the command room. We have a med bay with our medicine here, and then this is the toxin cabinet with, like, acids. In multiplayer, the toxin cabinet would be locked to most of the players of the ship, except for ones with authorized access through the ID card. This here is the helm, where we control the ship and we can see status. So you have the general status of, like, air and water quality, leaks, etc. Then you have electrical view of all of the components on the ship and their statuses as well. And then item finder. So if I want to be like, hey, where is a revolver? Oh, there's a revolver in that box over there. So the item view helps you find if there's specific items you can't find on your own. Up here we have passive and active sonar, whether or not you're zoomed in on the map, and directional ping if you only want to use sonar pings in one direction, and then manual steering and autopilot, which I'll show later. On the top left, we have the crew list. So Fish Pickles, Cool Mike, and JD. There is a command interface if you want to offer issue quick commands, which I don't often use. And then this is the info tab where it has your crew members, your goals, the difficulty biome, factions, your reputation, information about your submarine. So this is a better tutorial of the submarine. I'll show you that in a second. And then the upgrades to your submarine. As you can see here, weapons, supercapacitors, reactors, pumps, etc., etc. And then your actual character. So this is what I was referring to before, where the captain has helmsmanship abilities and also abilities to help out the rest of the crew. And then each person, like your engineer has electrical stuff and reactor stuff, and your mechanic has pumping stuff and fabricating stuff and repairing stuff. Alright, so that's the crew list. Down here, you can drag and drop to issue quick commands. So it's like, hey, we have a leak in our gunnery compartment. Boom. I've just told everyone that there's a leak in the gunnery compartment, even though it's not true. So back to the submarine info. This is a better way to give you the tour. So in front, we have the command room with the med bay. Down here, the left foreside is really just kind of like an empty room that protects the command room from attacks from the bottom. Down here is the ballast, where this pump in the middle of the ballast will automatically flood or pump to raise and lower up the submarine. This is the gunnery compartment with the 3 gun bays. At the start of the game, you only have 2 guns. You have an empty gun bay down here that you need to pay to install. We have an airlock up top to the right, and then the docking port. So the airlock allows you to swim out into the oceans wearing a suit, and you can see the suit docks are here, and then the docking port allows you to dock to cities, so that you don't have to, like, swim to a city. Down here, we have the reactor room. So this is the engine here. This is depth charge. Actually, this is the gun bay, sorry. This is depth charge, if you want to use decoy or depth charges. This is the nuclear reactor, and the junction boxes associated with it, and then batteries, and then back here is the oxygen generation compartment. And here is the stowage compartment, also with the secure storage for weaponry. So that is the tour there. On the quick bar here, you have your tools. This is a tool belt slot. This is a suit slot. Then you have your clothing, your hat, headset to be able to communicate with your other teammates, and ID card. And I am going to put my pipe away because I don't need a captain's pipe with me. I'd rather have the freed up storage space. So here you can see the guns. It's very dark. It's intentionally dark. So we start off with a pulse laser and a coil gun. And the coil gun has one spare ammo here on the shelf, and the pulse laser has one spare ammo on the shelf as well. These compartments will have diving masks in case things flood. Back here is the reactor room. I'm actually going to turn off the reactor because currently we're docked, and I'd rather not use up the fuel rod. We've got the batteries here, which can recharge things and hold charge, and then the oxygen generation so we can actually breathe on the ship. Oh, in case things flood, and let me tell you, they will flood. I can all but guarantee it. I'm also going to grab a plasma cutter. So a plasma cutter uses oxygen. Do not put welder fuel in there or it will explode and it will hurt you. So plasma cutter allows you to cut through hull, and sometimes it's needed to maintain your ship if your ship gets like... I won't spoil, but yeah, there's some times where you need a plasma cutter. And then flashlight and handheld sonar. Handheld sonar is really nice when you're going out and about and you're trying to like mine or something like that. Or loot things that you've killed. So here's the general storage, and I'm going to grab the revolver rounds out of the cabinet. And then here's the secure storage with another revolver. And then this revolver I'm actually going to empty and grab those bullets as well, because I want all the bullets for myself, and a harpoon gun. So let's go ahead and go up to, I don't even remember what this place was called, and buy the fuel rods, buy the welder fuel, find a way to make money, and leave. But before we do that, there's a pretty significant amount of crafting in the game where you can basically make anything for the most part. Like suits, weapons, you know, steel, reloading your ammo boxes, etc. And then this allows you to deconstruct components. So I could like deconstruct my plasma cutter into plastic and steel if I wanted to. I don't, but I could. Now, this starting station that you have doesn't have the typical stuff. Normally, there's a lot more people and there's a lot more things to buy and sell and all that stuff. But we're on a basic station. So here is the fuel rods and the welding tank. I'm only going to buy one welding tank rather than all of it. Save some money. All right, so we got the fuel and the welding tank. And I skipped past that tooltip, but what it's saying is the things I just bought will be loaded onto the ship automatically, so I don't have to bring them myself, which is a really nice feature because you have a very limited amount of storage space, so if you wanted to buy more than what could fit in your toolbar, you'd be out of luck. We've sold some basic construction materials to the neighboring outpost, but delivery is on us. A simple transport job, perfect for a new crew like yourselves. What say you? Mission unlocked, mining outpost material transport. Here we go. All right, so now that we're back on the ship, we can select the mission. The campaigns will have random seeds. So this is just happens to be my random seed. And the mission is to Barotrauma. But as you can see, there's other outposts as well. And the way to analyze this is the starting biome. You have different stations run by different people. So Barotrauma is run by the Europa coalition, which is the government. But then some of these are run by separatists. And you can see the Europa coalition has these 4 stars, like a ninja shuriken sorta, and then the separatists have the fist. And they're rival factions. Speaking of factions, Europa coalition and Jovian separatists are rivaling one another, and then the Church of Husk and Children of the Honk Mother are kind of rivaling one another as well a little bit. And later on, when it becomes relevant, I'm going to have you guys decide which factions to back. So let's go ahead and do the starting mission, where we select that we're doing it, and you only can do up to 2 missions per, and that's determined by the game's difficulty. So let's hit start. And Barsuk is leaving from Balagtan. That's hard to say. So what do the crew members do when you're not controlling them? That is up to you, but I'm about to show you. So let's issue orders. Fish Pickles, what I want you to do when I'm not using you is wait. I'm going to be using Fish Pickles as my main. So when I'm not using him, I don't want him to go anywhere. Cool Mike, I want you to operate the reactor and power it up. And then also, I want you to repair electrical systems and fix leaks. So now if I walk over to the reactor, Cool Mike should be standing there operating it. And he is. Alright, JD, our mechanic, I want you to primarily fix leaks. But if the leaks are fixed, then repair the mechanical systems. And if that's done, I want you to operate the pulse laser. And actually, Cool Mike, I'm going to remove the fixed leaks from you and have you operate the pulse laser, the coil gun. And you can drag the priorities here. So, like, I can tell them to operate the weapons first, and then if we have leaks, I can drag them into the front. And it's left to right is the priority. So here we go. That's how to issue commands. And as you get more people, you obviously can have people specialize doing specific things. You can also issue commands to just anyone. So if, like, all of a sudden we have a lot of leaks, I can just go like, hey, fix leaks by hitting middle mouse button. And that will just issue it to someone as a priority. Generally speaking, I don't use the command interface middle mouse. All right. It wants us to move the submarine, activate sonar, and dock at the next station. Easy peasy. So here's sonar. A lot of the creatures in the sea are attracted to sound. Some of them are literally blind, and if you turn off your sonar, they won't even know where you are for the most part unless you get real close. And then, speaking about moving, there's 2 types of moving. There's manual steering, where you select the direction, and the submarine will travel in that direction. And that allows you a greater speed and greater control. But then there's also autopilot. So I can say, hey, autopilot to Barotrauma. I would not use autopilot in this way. The only kind of autopilot I typically use is maintain position. So maintain position is really nice if I want the submarine to stay in one spot, and then I can go and, like, I need a repair gun, but quickly repair parts of the ship while the submarine isn't, like, careening into stones or whatever, into rock. Before I go any further, I probably want a welding tool. There we go. So let's go to the next station. Oh, insufficient power. So if we're getting insufficient power, I can tell Cool Mike to operate the reactor as a primary. And then if we do have a fight on our hands, I'll drag the operate coil gun, or I'll hop in on it myself. So let's use manual steering. So other things to note, this is pretty much all the vision that we're going to have, and there's different things that the map will tell you. So these blue sort of like sprites going on up here is water flow, which will drag you in that specific location. And then the blue is terrain, and then the colors can be like flora. The yellow things are ice spires, which when you crash into, it will do damage. And what I'm going to do very quickly is just show you some stuff, because we're going to get into it after this mission. This is like the training mission, so after this mission, it's going to get complicated pretty quick. So let me just demo some stuff. So let's say we have hull damage that we cannot reach with a repair gun inside. I can stick on a diving suit, and I can go outside. So here, as you can see, we've got the rock around us. Submarine is kind of in a holding pattern. That's what I issued it to do. And I also have handheld sonar too, which I can open up. And my handheld sonar can be set to passive, where because I'm close enough to the submarine, I can use the submarine's sonar for detection, but I can also activate my own sonar, and it will show me where cave systems are, where enemies are, where corpses are, things like that. Active sonar drains the hell out of your batteries for your handheld sonar, though. Other things to note: do not swim into your propeller. You'll regret it. Your diving suit has limited oxygen. It does last a while, but there's improved diving suits and improved oxygen bottles that you can unlock later on. If I am not sailing, this is kind of the view I have. One thing that I will note, and this is a lot harder to do in single player, but on multiplayer, the turrets have lights. So if, like, you have a diver trying to loot corpses outside, it's really friendly to try to illuminate the workspace, because the handheld flashlight, the amount of lumens it puts out pales in comparison to these turret lights. So I will demonstrate that real quick before finishing up this tutorial mission. So the suit dock is oxygenated, meaning that any suits that are put there will get reoxygenated. Same with the bottles below. So if I take out one, if I use my plasma cutter, here, let's use the plasma cutter, and I take out the oxygen bottle out of it, which is at 99%, as you can see, it will go up to 100%, and it's full now. So here, as you can see, this surface is way more illuminated now than it was before, because I pointed the turret at it. In fact, where I'm swimming is very bright as well. So it's really nice to use those turrets in non-combat situations. Some items, like these suits, cannot be put in your inventory, but you can carry them around like this if you don't want to wear them. Whereas most items can go in your inventory, but not all. Like, so ammo boxes are similar, where I can pick up an ammo box and carry it with me, but I cannot just stick it in my inventory. There are ways to have, like, better inventory carrying, but not like that. Alright, so let's get going. Let's board to Barotrauma, Habitation Outpost. And I'll also show what passive sonar looks like. There's not a lot of enemies in this starting mission, so like passive sonar is really not all that required, as there's not a lot of threats out there that we're going to have to hide from. But as you can see, you can kind of make out through the ambient noise of the submarine where the terrain is, but you can't really see very far beyond it. Oh, and we have an ice spire. So this yellow thing is an ice spire, which is like a collision object that our gunneries will try to shoot at, but I'm going to avoid. Now, colliding with the terrain is fairly forgiving. You have to collide very, very fast in order to really do a lot of damage to your submarine. Typically, you won't even get that fast unless your submarine is taking on a lot of water and is sinking quickly and slams into the ground below you. That would be the only case where, like, you might do significant damage and blunt force trauma some of your own crew. So here we are at Barotrauma. I can either park manually like this by trying to line it up, and as you can see, light bumps don't really do much at all. Or maintain position is another nice one, where I can stick the maintain position just beyond the docking port and hit dock. Ta-da! Beginner mission. There's really nothing that happens in that beginner mission. It's just a way for you to ease into it. And we gained 800 marks. So marks are money. And I have a quick question for you all. How do we spend our marks? I'll give you 1 minute to vote in that. So what I can do is upgrade the submarine, upgrade equipment, hire new personnel, or save it for something more expensive. So this is Barotrauma, and this station is going to be a little bit more complete than the last one. So I'll show you around, because Barotrauma is what a typical station will look like. So typically you'll have an arms dealer. So this is your arms dealer. And this arms dealer will have, if you mouse over it, actually he's just a regular merchant. But here's what he is selling. So we've got gear, bandages, you know, coil ammunition, which I'm going to end up buying. Tools, parts that you can install on the ship, etc., etc. And then we've got, at the top, you have the reputation modifier. So as we gain rep with them, things get cheaper. There's also daily specials, which are cheap. There's also things that he wants to buy. So he's willing to spend twice as much for revolver rounds. I'm not going to sell him revolver rounds, though, because they're kind of precious really early on. So what I want to buy here is coil ammunition and laser ammunition, which is expensive, but worth it. Purchase supplies will be delivered to your submarine when we leave. It also wants me to buy revolver rounds. I wonder if he sells any. Yeah, he does. I'm going to buy 2. And this is just because I have the restock supplies requirement. And then buy fuel rods. I'm only going to buy 1. Just to clear off this restock. Alright. Next is obtain mission leads. But I'm going to do a little bit more tour here first. So over here, you have the engineering bay. I could tell by the symbols here. So we have the medicine, outpost doctor, chief mechanic, submarine merchant, and engineer merchant. Whoops. I kind of tripped through there. So the chief mechanic allows you to upgrade your submarine. So there's different parts that you can upgrade. Kind of important ones really early on, in my opinion, would be to add another turret, a third turret to your ship, which is only really useful when you have someone to man the turret, mind you. The Barsuk does not have deconstructors, fabricators, or monitors, so those aren't things that we can upgrade. Other nice things to upgrade pretty early on would be hulls, but we need steel bars to do that, so we're going to need to make some steel or salvage some steel. Upgrading engines is always nice, upgrading pumps, batteries, everything. You can also repair your ship automatically through this, if you can't figure out what's damaged, but you do have some damage. So that would be the upgrade mechanic. Over here, we have the browse submarines. Now, for this series, I'm only going to be using the Barsuk, so I'm not going to be changing submarines, but as you can see, there's other styled submarines. So, we have this Orca Scout submarine, and then the Transport Camel. So this Transport Camel, for instance, can do a lot of cargo. So if you want to make money doing cargo runs, that would be where. And then this is the engineer supplies. So engineering supplies are things that you can set up in your ship. So for instance, if we wanted to monitor the oxygen levels of our ship, we could do that. I don't think it's probably a wise way to spend our money right now, but like that is a potential option for the future. If anyone's injured, over yonder is the doctor, which will cure any ailments and medical conditions that you have down here. Oh, it's also worth mentioning, sometimes you can find stuff in the trash cans, like drugs or tools or whatever, so they're always worth searching. And then this is the vendor for medicine. So actually, I'll buy 1 naloxone in case we have an opiate overdose, because it's on sale right now. If you wanted to synthesize your own drugs, if you have a ship doctor with good skill, you can also make your own medicine. Just like you can fabricate your own stuff. Sometimes there's like compartments that don't lead anywhere. Now there is a theft mechanic in the game. So you can steal things from stations. I don't plan on using it at all, but I just want to let you know that it exists. And it's the way it kind of works is like if anyone sees you steal, you're guilty. It's a bad time. but if no one's in the room when you do it, you can get away with it. So for instance, here is a red hand where I can take the diving suit. One way to, if you wanted to steal everything, is you can steal it and then you can deconstruct it. But don't wear it, because if people see you steal stuff that you're wearing, that's how they find out. Alright, so let's go obtain mission leads. And that would be up here. So there's the HR manager, the clown merchant, and the station manager somewhere up top. So here's HR. And looking at what you guys voted on, it looks like hire new personnel or save for something more expensive was tied. So let's take a quick look. These are the personnel that I could hire. We're currently at a coalition station, and it's coalition experience that unlocks new people. So personally, the first person I would want to hire is probably going to be a security officer, and I don't have the reputation to do it, so we're going to save up for when I do. I don't, at this moment, need another captain or engineer or assistant. Assistants are cheap, but they're kind of, they're nice later on to have an assistant for someone to, like, you know, put out fires or haul things, reload guns, that kind of stuff. But they're not like mission critical right at the start. They could fill those roles if you need them to, but I'd rather just save up, and you guys voted for that. We hired a crew to transport these materials, but they never showed. The stuff is here if you want the job. So, medical item transport. There was an especially mean monster terrorizing the caves near here. I've put a little reward aside to the crew that takes it down. Killing a large crawler. And looking for work. The coalition hired some fresh meat from our outpost. So, transporting coalition personnel. So there's 3 potential missions, and I can pick 2 of them. Cool Mike says, looks like you settled into the routines of submarining pretty well. So far, it seems like the risk's been exaggerating. Smooth sailing. Oh man, spoke too soon. From what I heard, things get riskier the further down we go. The money's better though. No risk, no reward. I do have some urge to go deeper. I mean, who could say no to more money? Money and adventure. Exploring the unknown. Sign me up, Captain. Down we go. And I'll go over to the clown merchant too. He's gonna be up here somewhere. Oh, the ragdoll physics is very ragdolly. So this is the honk. Just to remind you, there's different factions. So this is the children of the honk mother. And he's selling food, supply, like growing supplies and like toy hammers and stuff like that. Not that I'm going to buy anything from them. Thank you for tuning in to Barotrauma, which originally streamed live on Twitch December 5th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below, but please keep in mind that I've asked for no backseating or spoilers for this series, which includes the comments as well. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams, and if you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Rhadamant.com or the description of this video have a link to it. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream of another game. Farewell, my fellow Europans.